The first Five Nights at Freddy's game released nearly 11 years ago and has been relatively solved by the community. However, there's one mystery from the installment that is still heavily debated: what year the game takes place in. For a while, almost everyone agreed that it took place in the year 1993. However, over the past few years, a lot of people started questioning it for some reason and have turned to other years such as 1989, 1992 and 1999. But I don't see how any of those years are canon, therefore I still believe FNaF 1 is in 1993 based on evidence that will be listed in this video. I just want to say before we start, make sure to like and subscribe as it would be well appreciated, and you can always change your mind in the future. With all that being said, let's jump into this debate. The first main evidence of 1993 is that the paycheck Mike received sorta matches the years between 1991 and 1996. The minimum wage in 1993 was $4.25, and a FNaF 1 paycheck is $120, which would be $4 an hour. Scott could have just rounded it down to the nearest dollar, which could be why it's not exactly $4.25. Furthermore, in FNaF 2, the paycheck Jeremy receives is the exact minimum wage for 1987. So this could imply that either this is Scott's way of fixing the paycheck in FNaF 1 or us being right about the importance of looking in the paycheck to find the year. Still, I don't think Scott had a year set when developing FNaF 1 besides maybe early 90s, hence the X's on the paycheck where the year should be, and only gave it a year when people started theorising his lore. The next main evidence is Scott's Steam post from 2015, which was about the Halloween DLC from FNaF 4. In this post, Scott said, "You know, when I released the first game over a year ago, I was amazed at how quickly everyone found every bit of lore and story." So, considering 1993 was pretty much the general consensus during the time of this Steam post, and was pretty much uncontested back in the day, this could imply the community was correct about 1993. Also in his Steam post, Scott said, "Game Theory did an incredible video on part 2, getting almost everything right. 1993 was mentioned to be FNaF 1's year in Matt Pat's video. And the stuff we know for a fact he got wrong was Afton being phone guy and Golden Freddy being used for the missing children incident. This could imply the other statements he said in the video were all right, however I'm not really 100% certain about this point. The other Scott statement, yes definitely, but this one, nah. The next big piece of evidence is HLY223 from Pizzeria Simulator. I explained in my FNaF 3 2023 video, please watch it, that the audio name is a pattern, since HLY is the first and two last letters of Henry, and 223 is the first and two last numbers of 2023, therefore making it a pattern. It also links to FNaF 3 as the Follow Me minigame is heavily mentioned in this tape. So since this would imply FNaF 3 is in 2023, then by extension FNaF 1 would be in 1993. Another piece of evidence is that in the week before, Ralph takes Capelli to school after each night shift. This would mean he works Monday to Friday, and since the story is the week before Michael Afton's shift, he's probably using the same work schedule as Ralph's. In 1993, November 8th to November 12th, the week Mike works, is Monday to Friday, heavily implying FNaF 1 is set in this year. This detail in the week before was mentioned a lot, implying it has the most validity out of the other week before time placement evidence, which even then, most of those can also be attributed to 1993. I should also note that in FNaF AR, scrap Faz facts were found years ago that imply FNaF 1 is in 1993 due to two facts saying, Fazbear's Twisted Pizza recipe was voted most yummy by 6 out of 10 children in every survey from 1988 to 1993. And in 1993, the most dangerous profession in the United States was actually night security guard. However, there is some controversy around these fast facts, as apparently according to Technical FNaF on Twitter, who supposedly interviewed an anonymous Lumix employee, the fast facts were made without Scott's involvement. However, the claim was never verified. And even though a lot of people came forward and stated they were there at the interview, they didn't bring in any evidence, so we don't know if this interview even existed or not. But still, I would avoid using the fast facts for evidence, just in case. With all the evidence out the way, let's go through the problems/debunks that people use to try and disprove 1993. The first debunk is that in FNaF 2, they used the Sunday to Thursday schedule at the location, as Jeremy appeared on the 12th of November 1987. If the FNaF 1 location was using this schedule, then only 1992 and 1998 would work for FNaF 1's year. However, as stated earlier, the week before basically debunks this point, as it heavily implies the Monday to Friday schedule at the FNaF 1 location, which only works for 1993 and also 1999. Speaking of 1999, the next debunk people use is Capellia's age. In one of the pages, Ralph says he made a recording regarding Freddy Fazbear's Pizza for Fazbear Entertainment around the time his daughter was born. Capellia is 11 and is turning 12 in the same year. The earliest year Ralph could have made this tape is 1983, as Freddy's was established in that year as seen by the Faz tokens in Help Wanted. This would mean that FNaF 1 would take place in 1995 or later, as 1983 plus 12 equals 1995, and that's only the earliest year it can be. Pair all this with the Tina Turner 1996 song Some Beautiful Remains to be mentioned, Ralph saying how the phrase happiest place on earth was trademarked, which Disney officially registered in September 1999, and also Ralph's schedule also pointing towards 1999, all but confirms FNaF 1 1999, right? Wrong! Firstly, Capellia's age and that whole page where the information is stated is most likely inconsistent, as Ralph says he never took Capellia to Freddy's, yet on page 233 he mentions how he brought her to work when she was 7, so it's likely the page is inconsistent and outdated. Plus, ages in FNaF have never been consistent. Just look at Edwin in Tales and Charlie in the novel trilogy. Also, apparently from what I've heard, the page can't even be accessed in a normal playthrough without cheating. Next, the song references in the week before might be inconsistent, as it's implied there is a reference to a song from 2015 in the book, as it has the same lyrics. However, it does say it's playing backwards, which could just be a reference to how when you play a song backwards, it has supposed subliminal messaging. For example, remember when people used to reverse the London Bridge is Falling Down song and it supposedly said might kill all? It's probably something like that. Even if the Stains and Remains reference has actual timeline implications, it doesn't confirm FNaF 1 happens in 1926 or later, because apparently it could be a reference to an old poem called A Dialogue created by George Herbert in 1633, as it has similar wording to the song. As for the Happiest Day trademark thing, it was a common joke before 1999 regarding Disney trademarking that phrase, to the point where The Simpsons even joked about it in 1922, so yeah, it doesn't mean anything. 1999 also falls outside Mike's paycheck, as minimum wage rose to $4.75 in 1996, and then rose again to $5.15 in September 1997, so yeah, FNaF 1 is probably not in 1999. Some people also point towards 1989 as the year of FNaF 1, especially since Unwebed Truth's video released. I recommend watching it if you haven't already. I disagree with the conclusions, but it's really well made, so link for that will be in the description below. Anyways, 1989 doesn't match Ralph's schedule, as he will be working Wednesday to Sunday, which goes against him sending Capelli to school after each shift, so I don't think FNaF 1 is set in this year. Also, the real life references evidence for 1989 is not that compelling, as just because there's references to pop culture from 1989 in the week before, doesn't mean it takes place in that year. And another point, the week before says how people are still stuck up on the bite of 87, which many people use to confirm that FNaF 1 happens in close proximity to FNaF 2. However, I disagree, because considering how small Hurricane Utah is, the damn bite would definitely be the talk for decades, to the point where Phasma Entertainment in the future literally claim that all the rumours surrounding their establishments are all total fabrications, proving that people are still stuck up about the rumours which include the bite of 87. Hell, even in Screw Beach, which I believe is in 2035, there's a duff bag message with someone saying, "Why did you reopen? Everyone remembers what happened to those kids," proving that people in the future are still talking about the MCI, and since the bite was a prominent event, so would that be talked about too. And that's pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone enjoys this video, and think of it as a sequel to my FNaF 3 year video, since it kinda links to that. I might even make a video in the future combining both of them into one to see what happens. Remember to be respectful for one another in the comments, as it's just group begging at the end of the day. Anyways, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side. Goodbye!